Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And good evening and welcome everybody to another fun-filled episode of Scarefest Television, the original broadcast date July 15th, 2022. Now our guest tonight is Mr. Brian Bremer. You know him from Pumpkinhead fame. And Chad, what was the name of that movie, that Teenage Mutant Hookers, or what was it?
Oh no, you're not going to bring that one up.
Oh yeah, you know we are.
Teenage test tube babies from
Test
2000
from the year 2000, also called Virgin Hunters, also called Sperm of the Future. I don't know, it had like 17 different names.
The funny part of it is, Chance, I figured that was the one you was going to watch. That was the one you picked out. No, I watched Pumpkinhead because I realized I had never seen the entire movie Pumpkinhead. I watched parts of it, but I had not just sat down and watched it all the way through. So it shows
I'm glad you watched it. Thanks for watching. Pumpkinhead thanks you.
Totally crappy horror movie fan I am. Anyway, tonight,
sure.
Everybody.
Well, let me say about Test Tube Teens, Wes and Chad. You know, that was my mother's, of all the movies that I did, that was my mother's favorite movie. I was like, Mom, come on, Pumpkinhead. She's like, no, I love that Test Tube Teens. That's so funny, and I love when you put the wig on and did the voice. I'm like, okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that, but. Glad. I don't know if glad.
Well, I'll have to have a full synopsis now. Anyway, everybody, a little busy. Okay, Joe Lewis will be in later to give us Last Night in Soho. He's reviewed that movie, which wasn't that a song in like 1984 or 85? Last Night in Soho. Anyway, that's our
Last Night in Bangkok.
Okay,
that's
the one. Okay, anyway, so Last Night in Soho, he's reviewing that. We do have a celebrity announcement at the 30-minute mark, just to keep everybody from being disappointed in my otherwise trivial banter. Okay, let's get to the interview now. And Brian, of course, welcome to the show, and a warm welcome to the Scarefest family. And
I'm so excited. Thank you.
First thing, okay, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Why was that kid? Did they ever explain? Do you ever get like script notes or something that tells you why your character's name is Bunt?
No, and I have no idea where that came from, other than bunting. That was the first thing I thought when I read the script. I'm like, Bunt, but that was the name in the original script, and it stuck, and that's what it was, and I have no idea.
It's memorable.
I'm from the South. I've never met a single human being named Bunt or Punt or Slam Dunk, but there you have it.
My biggest critique of the movie, I always like to pull some bullshit thing out of my ass.
Sure, go for it.
Naming the character Pumpkinhead just because he comes from a cemetery that has pumpkins growing in it, really gross, shitty looking.
Right.
I expected more of a Pumpkinhead look. There, that's my entire critique of the movie.
Right, like Jack the Pumpkinhead, like from the children's stories. Yeah. Well, apparently, the story is, and there's lots of different stories about this, but what I know from making the movie is the movie comes from a poem, an old Appalachian poem. And Ed Justinian adapted the poem, and then Stan Winston won the Oscar for the Queen Alien in Aliens. De Laurentiis Group, after he won that Oscar, gave him his own movie to direct. His first movie he ever directed, and he chose this movie. But the poem that we tease the little kid with in the beginning, keep away from Pumpkinhead. Right, that apparently is an actual poem from some book of scary stories that, scare children. So that's where it came from. But yeah, that's when I booked the movie, I'm like, what's the monster going to look like? It was really cool because That was practical effects. So that monster was built by Stan Winston Studios. There were 8 different versions that progressively start looking more and more like Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
But nothing. I thought it was going to be, the skinny guy with the pumpkin head, but it wasn't.
And that was, now just watching it, I'm guessing it was all pretty much a glorified marionette.
Yeah, in a way, it was. The head was, that's a replica of the head there. The head was animatronic, so it was articulated with puppetry. Tom Woodruff Jr. was actually in the suit, for Pumpkinhead. And if you look, the neck of Pumpkinhead is where his eyes are. So the head is actually sitting on top of his head, right? Then I have a great picture. I wish I'd pulled it out of some behind the scenes stuff when we shot the movie. Then Tom Woodruff is a really huge guy. I don't know, he's like 8 feet tall, but his feet actually stop at the knees of the monster. Okay. So in most of the scenes, there's a big platform that he's actually walking on. And so you can't see his little tennis shoes at the knees of the monster. But in the full shots where you see the fully articulated monster, he's actually held up in a harness, right? And so the feet are prop feet and he's articulating them like a puppet. Yeah. His head is in the neck of the monster and the monster's head is up here with the eyes and the mouth and everything being controlled by somebody else off stage. And he's moving the arms, right? So it's kind of half puppet, half guy in a suit, half twisted Walt Disney World animatronic. It's like, it was amazing. And the thing is, Wes, they don't do that anymore. That's almost a lost art now because everything's CG, everything's computer generated. But this was real artistry and real craftsmanship. And Stan Winston and his crew were unbelievable. I mean, he made every great monster, up until a certain point, until he passed away. His studios made all the great monsters. So, and that was my first movie ever. And I didn't even really realize who he was. I remember I booked the movie, and then we were watching the Oscars in my apartment in Woodland Hills with like 8 other guys. I shared an apartment with 8 guys. And we're watching the Oscars, and Best Special Effects comes up, and Stan Winston walks up and gets the Oscar. I'm like, holy shit. And I called my mom right away. I'm like, Mom, are you watching it? That's the guy I'm about to do a movie. That guy, that's the guy who's going to direct my movie. So I was just like amazed. And for my first movie experience, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was totally professional, amazing cast. And just Stan was a great director. He loved actors. He was all about like the backstory of the characters and letting us kind of inhabit the character. That very beginning scene in the opening where I scare her with the little ball, like she's watching us taunt my little brother, and Cynthia Bain goes, stop it, you're scaring him. And I walk up to her like real sly and kind of look at her, and then I'll jump at her and scare her. That was my idea. I had a terrible first day of shooting because it was my very first movie I had ever done. I was a nervous wreck, and I was nervous the whole day, and I felt like I did a shitty job. I went home. I couldn't sleep all night that night, and I thought, I'm going to fix this. I would never do this today on a set. This is what's funny, but this is 20-year-old me. I go back to set the next day, and I go up to Stan, and I'm like, hey, Stan, I have an idea for that scene we shot yesterday. Do you think we could reshoot it? And I told him, come on, that's crazy. Like, as a director today, I would never let an actor do that. Stan's like, what's your idea? I told him, I want to go up and kind of like I'm going to walk up and intimidate her and then scare her. He goes, I love it. Let's reshoot it. And they reset the entire set. We were still on the location. Now, if we'd moved the location, obviously that wouldn't have happened. They reset the entire set, and he reshot that scene with me scaring her that way and kind of being a little snarky, a-hole. And that kind of set the tone for Bunt's whole character. Like, that's the kind of director he was. He wanted the characters to be invested. He wanted everything, Anyway, I'm making it sound like it's
best part is you actually answered a question I had from the chat room, and so it worked out perfect. Chad,
great.
Chad, over to you.
I'll tell you, I rewatched Pumpkinhead getting ready for this, and I've always enjoyed the movie, and I've watched it multiple times through the years. But the thing I didn't realize till this viewing was that Mayim Bialik was in there.
Yeah, man.
I know.
Before she was Blossom, before Beaches.
Yeah. So that was a piece of trivia I hadn't picked up on before.
I wonder how many
go back, and you said this was your first movie. How did you kind of get involved in acting, and what kind of led you down that path?
Well, probably like a lot of people, I started in high school. You know, I found the drama club was the only place that I really fit in or felt at home, felt comfortable, kind of found my people. And I did a lot of plays in high school. And then I went to the Southeastern Theater Conference. I live here in Atlanta, and got a scholarship to Pepperdine University for theater and playwriting. I didn't write plays. I do write sketch comedy. But I went out to Pepperdine on the theater scholarship, you know, and that got me to Los Angeles. And when I was doing my first play on stage, an agent from the Gage Group saw me and they basically signed me. That's basically how it happened. Well, actually, she was the receptionist at the Gage Group, and she liked me and said, I'm going to see if my bosses will see you. So she got me the appointment. And I went in and I made up a monologue. I was really good at that in the early days. They signed me. The first thing they sent me out on was Pumpkinhead. And it's funny because I remember the agent, I can't remember his name, but he was a young guy, old to me at the time, but young to me now, as everyone is now. And he says, oh yeah, kid, it's a horror movie. You got to do one. Everybody does them. You got to do them. You know, I'm like, okay. And I went in to audition, and Stan was there. And of course I didn't know who he was. And the audition scene was the scene where they run over Billy, they run over the kid. And all the outsider kids are like gathering around him and like, oh my God, oh, we killed him. Oh. It was really emotional and dramatic and everything. And I was there for that. And I watched all that. And then my audition scene was the scene where I'm in the church. I take them to the church and I explain to them what Pumpkinhead is. You know, when one man does another man wrong, that scene. Well, so I'm standing in the audition room and in this little like podunk strip mall in Van Nuys, California. And I'm in the middle of the scene. I'm really into it. It's the first audition I had where I could use my Southern accent. And I actually have a very authentic Southern accent because I'm from North Carolina. And as I'm doing the scene and I'm being real intense and everything, somebody on the other side of the wall knocked something. And it scared the shit out of me. And it was so real and so honest. And Stan's like, you're our bunt. So that's how I got it. And then from that, I did a lot of others. But I didn't ever intend to really do movies. I went out there to do theater. And I just kind of started because of where I was. I did movies and TV shows until I moved back to Atlanta. So. But that's how I got into it. I got an acting and writing scholarship to Pepperdine. So I went for college. And just by happenstance, that put me in Los Angeles. I was going to go to the University of South Carolina because my dad's like, that's an in-state school. That's where you're going because it's not going to cost me any money. And then I got the full ride, right? Then I got the full ride to Pepperdine. And he's like, that's where you're going. It's not going to cost me any money. So I didn't even know what it was, you know. And it put me in, yeah. Anyway, sorry. I will ramble. You have to just interrupt me.
Oh, no. We're here to talk to you. So the more you talk, the better the fans like it. So
I was fresh off the bus in LA too. Like I had no idea what I was getting into. I was a little old actor from North Carolina, and suddenly I'm in this place where in Malibu, and everything I'm seeing is stuff I see on TV. So it was hard to get the stars out of my eyes. If I had advice for actors, and I give advice to actors now too, and I say, if you want to be an actor, get the stars out of your eyes right away. Just do the work. Don't think about fame. Don't think about money. Don't get intimidated by all the sparklies, because that's all an illusion. You know, do the work because you love the work, and what you get, you know, is what you're meant to get. But I can only say that because I was not that way. I was like,
well, you answered my typical follow-up question, which is how did you end up in the horror genre? But you kind of already covered that. But I think we're right up on our first break, so we're going to toss to that. And we'll be right back with Brian Bremer.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
I'm going to drive to Kentucky, by the way.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. As Jake pointed out in the chat room, the more you talk, the less they have to listen to me. And they listen to me. They listen to me week after week after week. So this is a treat. It's a treat. Now, okay. Now back to the chat room questions. Do you think your director Stan? Okay, you talked a lot about him. Do you feel like he preferred and was more passionate about the making the monster movie or making the monsters? My understanding is it.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think making the monsters, without a doubt. Stan was a great director, and God bless him, a beautiful man. I'll always remember, and I say this a lot, the people that I've ever worked with in my career that are at the top of their game are the nicest people you will ever meet. They are humble, they are sweet, they don't play those Hollywood games. It's the people that are trying to climb are the ones who will give all that attitude and make the actors feel bad and everything. He was a wonderful director and a wonderful human being. He had us over to his house for a pre-read, he had us over to his house for a wrap party. But I remember one day on set, I was sitting in the Appalachian set, which was actually in Topanga Canyon. And I saw him having this huge fight with the De Laurentiis Group executives. They were just screaming at him and he was screaming back. And I was far away from him, so I couldn't see, but like the whole set saw it. I don't think he enjoyed that experience of directing and having to deal with the studio executives. That was De Laurentiis Group, which went bankrupt, and that's why the movie got shelved. And then eventually MGM picked it up, and then HBO picked it up, and people saw it. But I'll never forget that. I can still see it. I can see him in that mountain, like woodsy set, arguing with the suits. And he said that directing gave him a spastic colon, and that he would never do it again. And after Pumpkinhead, he did Monster Squad. He directed Monster Squad, and that's the last movie he ever directed. He went back and just had Stan Winston Studios and made, again, some of the most iconic creatures of all time. I think he very much enjoyed the creative process of creating the creatures more than directing, but because of what you have to deal with as a director, which is a shame because he was an incredible actor's director. I wish he'd done more.
Now, I had read your bio before the show. I mean, not like I actually did research or anything. But okay, I was on top of the full scholarship
like 2 minutes ago
to Pepperdine, which it blew me away because I did. My God, you looked like you were 12 when you were 20. Was that makeup, or did you just have that fresh in the face?
No, I just did. I mean, I played high school until I was 30. And then I did a show for CBS called TV 101.
My exact opposite.
No, I doubt it.
See, I looked the age I am now when I was in high school.
No, you
Yes,
didn't.
I did, really. I had a full beard. People would walk in.
I wouldn't put you a day over 72. Not a day.
My feet would argue with you. People would come in my school and they thought I was a teacher.
I get it. I have friends like that.
I'm standing out in the lobby, hitting on teenage girls. So nowadays it's in style. I understand. I was leading up to a question.
Well, I'm not going to respond to that. No, I get it. I was trying to. I think I looked so young for so much of my career, and actually, I did play high school until I was almost 30 years old. Almost everyone in that show were in their late 20s. It was called TV 101. It was on CBS. And then I hit this phase where I really didn't look old enough to play my age, but I didn't look young enough to play high school anymore. So I got into that kind of uncastable range. And
I guess that was before Netflix, because they don't give a damn.
They don't give a shit. You're right. Oh, sorry, everybody. But that's when I found voiceover. Let me tell you, that's the key to longevity in this industry is you just have to reinvent yourself and reinvent yourself. And I found voiceover when I had the lull and on camera. Also, I had a rock and roll band. We don't need to talk about that. But we were very good. We smoked way too much pot to make an album. But that's why we came to Atlanta to play the Olympics. And we played the Olympics, and then the band broke up, and I kind of stayed here. And I was in that age where I wasn't old enough to play the dad or the doctor. I am now. So anyway, so I found voice acting and I just never looked back. So that's really still my passion. I still do a movie like every couple of years. If casting asks for me to audition, they don't ever ask me to just do a movie, but if they ask me to audition, I never turn it down. You know, my dad always said, to be successful, learn everything you can about what you're trying to do and walk through every door that opens. So if a casting director asks me, and once in a while they do, I'll audition. So I end up doing a movie once every couple of years or so. But voice acting is my love and my passion. I just, but I'm getting to the age now where I'm like, maybe I will do some more. Like, this surprises me. When I went to FrankenCon, and the fans are so amazing and so lovely, I was in tears half the show because I couldn't believe, I thought nobody would come to my table. And for people to come up and say, and one guy did, and Tanner, if you're watching, you know who you are. It's like, I watched you since I was a little kid. I watched Pumpkinhead growing up, and I'm like, oh, I'm your twisted Walt Disney. One guy said, my grandma took me to see Pumpkinhead, and then when I was 6 years old. I'm like, what the hell? And he said, yeah, and then we go home, and to make me go to bed, she'd scare me and tell me that Pumpkinhead was coming to get me. I'm like, I'm so sorry, babe. But like, to see that depth of the love of the, anyway.
Tanner, who met you at FrankenCon, is in the chat room listening to you tonight and chatting.
Hey, Tanner. Hey, man. Tanner's got a Pumpkinhead tattoo that's really cool. I had a really cool German poster. What was it called, Tanner? Like the Monster de Halloweener or something. El Halloweener Monster or something like that. Anyway. Hey, Tanner. So anyway, it was great. So I probably will get back into it more full time at some point. The last movie I did was about a year ago called Permanent with Rainn Wilson and Patricia Arquette. Really funny movie, really great. I'm in like the first 15 minutes. And I really, really loved it. And not genre. It's like a family comedy, but I got to play this hair salon owner and just like go crazy with him. I had a really good time. So anyway, what did we get off on that?
I have no idea. Before I toss over to chat, I was trying to get to an actual question from the chat room.
Sorry.
No, it's beautiful. I was just thinking, okay, even at 20 years old, and then to go on set and have this. Well, somebody in the chat room asked what it was like acting in front of that Pumpkinhead prop, however you want to put it. Monster, yeah. What was that like at your level of experience? I mean,
well, it was all very technical. It's very funny because, when you're working with and see, this is the thing they don't do anymore, and I wish they did more of, but when you're working with a practical effect, Tom's there, he's in the suit, and when he's on the break, they take his legs off and he's sitting in a director's chair just like I am, having a Jolt Cola to stay up all night shooting the thing. So you get used to it, but the thing itself is very scary. Like, he was scary, Pumpkinhead was scary, but it's a lot of fun, and it's acting. I mean, we're all there and we're doing it, and we see the cameras and everybody's right there. My favorite story that I tell about what it was like working with the monster, there's a scene in the movie where he comes after me, because he comes after the people he's supposed to, and everybody that gets in the way, right? And I hide in the cabin in a closet. There's a scene where I'm hiding in the closet, Chad. I don't know if you know that's it, right? So I'm sitting in the closet, and they took the back of the closet off. Oh, the film was shot. I got to set this up. The film was shot on the Newhall Ranch, which is where they shot Little House on the Prairie. So that cabin that was Ed Harley's cabin, that's Mr. Olson's cabin from Little House on the Prairie. Now that was really cool. And the barn is Mr. Olson's barn at the end of the movie. Anyway, if any of you listening are old enough to remember Little House on the Prairie, you're probably not. So the whole cabin was designed so they could take the walls off and shoot from anywhere outside the cabin into the interior. So I'm hunkered down in the cabin. The back wall is off and the camera is behind me, right? And in the scene, Pumpkinhead comes in and he looks into the closet, and then you think he's leaving, so he turns to go away, and then he comes back and snaps his head back, and he's in my face, and I'm screaming at him, right? I don't know if you remember this scene. Well, that scene was shot at 4:00 in the morning. We were literally on Jolt Cola because, to stay up all night. We shot all night. And if you watch that scene, what you'll see is that I am laughing hysterically. But it's MOS, right? There's no sound except for the sound effects, but I'm laughing my ass off. And you can, if you know, then when you watch that scene, you can totally tell because we were punch drunk, you know? So I'm like, but it looks like I'm screaming from the back. So there was a lot of that. But the one thing I'll say is Stan was really good about immersing you in the environment. I mean, I was able on that movie to forget the cameras were there. And to me, at times, it was a real creature. It was a real monster. And then you got Lance Henriksen, who's like the best actor in the world. And Lance always said, no matter what you think of the work, honor the work. And he was amazing. So when you have an actor like that you're acting with, it's easy. You know, it was cool.
Chat.
Short answer.
You talked about getting into the con circuit and your experiences. I'll tell you, there's nothing like horror fans.
I agree, baby. I agree.
They're most loyal and
loving,
fervent.
Yeah.
Yes, and lovely. So as you do more cons, I'm sure you're going to have more great experiences. And I know that we've got a host of people waiting for Scarefest to get to meet you. So,
oh man, that makes me really happy. I can't wait.
I look forward to that weekend and meeting you myself. But yeah, there's just no better group. So you talked about your voice acting and that you kind of moved into that. What drew you to that, and kind of what made you think of that as a career path as work slowed down?
That's a good question. Because I really never thought about it. Voice acting is the kind of thing they don't teach you in art school. They don't teach you in conservatory or college or in any of the theater schools, but it's everywhere. And actually, I'll try and keep this short because I know we're going to go to a commercial break.
Don't fret that.
Okay. When I moved back to Atlanta to play the Olympics with my band, I really thought I was going to be a singer. I was going to make this band thing work. And I was really putting all the on-camera stuff and all the entertainment stuff on that side behind me. And we moved here and we did really well. We played the Olympics. We played out. We got a little following. We did break up after the Olympics. But one of the benefits of being here is I was able to be close to my family. And I hadn't been close to my family in 10 years when I was in LA. And I got to spend time with my great aunt on the farm in North Carolina, West, that I talked about, where I spent my summers growing up. Tobacco farm. And honestly, she was the love of my life. I mean, in another life, we would have been brother and sister. We were soulmates. It was my great aunt. She didn't have any kids. And I got to spend the last days of her life with her. And when she was in the hospital, I read to her from a book that she loved called Billy Graham's Angels. And I would read out loud. And my old cousin Shelby was in the hospital room in those last days. And at one point she turns to me and she goes, Brian, you have such a nice voice. You ought to do something with that. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm an actor and I was a singer. Well, let me go explore voice acting. So I came back to Atlanta, took a workshop, and I just fell in love with it. I love working on the microphone. It doesn't matter how old I am. It doesn't matter. I can work in my underwear. I often do. I'm in my underwear right now. No one can see me. It's all about the theater of the mind and what you can do with your voice. This year, I booked the voice of Mr. Peanut. I am the voice of Mr. Peanut, by God. So when you see
awesome.
That's right, baby. I got to be Nick in the Walking Dead video game, which was an amazing script and show. And I just played Albert Einstein in a CNN documentary about Albert Einstein. I thought, I'm doing the Albert Einstein. And so it's whatever you can do with your voice. So there's no limit. So this doesn't matter. Right. And I can be 80 years old and it's just all about how I sound. And so I just fell in love with it. And casting directors always intimidated me. They don't anymore, believe it or not, because now I'm an adult. Now I know you do the work, you go in and everything else is beyond your control. Learning your lines, really knowing what you're doing, knowing your character, that's your job. Same when you audition for, a voice acting job. But the difference is I can do it right here in my home. And I usually do the jobs in my home. It doesn't take like 3 days of script prepped, although I do love it. And like I say, I'll still do it when it comes around. But that's how I got into it. Honestly, I was inspired by my great aunt. I took a workshop and there's so many things you can, and that's the first thing I say to everybody, you've got to learn about it because there's so many things you can do in this business for voice acting. Commercials, narration, animation. I mean, audiobooks, IVR, interactive voice recording. Thank you for calling the Home Depot. Press 1 to never speak to another human being again. Like there's so much work and nobody ever talks about it. So anyway, that's how I got into it. And I have been a professional voice actor for 25 years. I'm with Stars, the agency in San Francisco, great agency, and ACM Talent Management in New York and LA. And listen, I'm a working hack. I'm a working actor, man. I mean, I audition probably 25, 30 times a day, and I'll work. I have a good booking ratio, but that means anywhere from 2 jobs a month to 10 jobs a month, or no jobs a month. Some months, so you make hay while the sun shines. But yeah,
I talk about nobody thinking about it or knowing about it, but I think that's changing because you go to some of these comic conventions.
That's true.
Voiceover actors have the longest lines of anybody in that room.
That's especially the video games. Like we just did the 10th anniversary of the Walking Dead video game, and I could not believe the millions and millions and millions of people that still follow that game.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
You're coming to Kentucky where The Walking Dead originated, so hopefully you'll get a good turnout from that. So
we'll have to put a picture of Nick up there on my banner too. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, people.
I'm going to go ahead and toss it to commercial right now. We'll be right back with Brian.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
Thanks, Anita.
Welcome back to Scarefest Television. We do have some announcements to give you, including a celebrity announcements, but I do want to warn you, the second half of Scarefest TV will be me and Brian talking about tobacco farming. Because
all right,
when I got something in common with a guest, my passion ignites. Anyway, let's go for it. Robert Patrick, you know what?
Wow.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day, The Faculty, this whole slew of movies. But he'll always be Terminator. Was it T-1000?
Oh my God, I love him.
Chad, you're the one who knew that trivia.
I think so. It was T something.
Well, let's answer Terminator, so we can go with that. But anyway, we did
T-2000.
There you go, T-2000. He was a gloopy metal one. Anyway, but Robert Patrick is coming. Now, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of our featured vendors. Loftus Woodworking is coming to the Scarefest, and they do basically laser engraving in wood. Laser engraved and wood burn designs. So they will be, you can check them out online, loftuswoodworking.com. In the meantime, but they will be at the Scarefest. Also, Matthew Miller, horror writer. Now you can find him on Amazon. Just go in and type Matthew Miller into the little Amazon thing. But his latest book, Blood Feud, a punk rock vampire story, is available in the Kindle edition. Here you go. What if the famous Hatfield-McCoy feud was not about an alleged murder or a stolen pig or an elopement, but ran much deeper, to the very blood of the two families involved? Ushaville, West Virginia. Now you can correct me, you might know that better. Yeah. Is like a tiny European city in the middle of the piney wilderness. 4 failed punk musicians fans break down in Ushaville, and they meet people in the town. They discover Ushaville's bloody secret. The punk groups up with a faithless priest, a skeptical ghost hunter, a real magical fairy, a weak-minded professor, a Cherokee man, and a local bartender. Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Blood Feud. Look it up, people. Once again, Matthew Miller. He will be a featured vendor at the Scarefest. We are still taking staff applications. We have our in-person meeting here in like 2 weeks. 2 weeks, yeah. So there is still time if you've been thinking about it. We are still taking applications, but we're getting up there. We just got a few slots that we need filled. So be thinking about that. The Scarefest Horror Film Festival is still taking entries for about another month. I think it's the end of August, actually. So you got about another month. If you've got one, you're trying to dot the I's, cross T's, and tie up the N's, whatever the hell movie directors do. Anyway, Scarefest Horror Film Festival is taking submissions. We got, last time I checked, we were at like 90 submissions so far this year. Central Kentucky Mystical Market, Lexington's premier monthly psychic and holistic event, is this weekend. I will actually be there, believe it or not, people. I've got caught up on the farm. I get to go tomorrow and Sunday. I will be doing really bad tarot card readings if you're interested, and I'll have some cards to hand out for Scarefest and just talk your leg off if you stop by the booth. But stop by Central Kentucky Mystical Market, Clarion Hotel, just off Newtown Pike.
It's T1000 West. Okay. Tanner says
it was T1000. That's
my bad. I added 1,000.
That's a beautiful thing about horror fans. Has anybody walked up and quoted your script back to you yet?
Me? No. I have been recognized. I've been recognized in public, but that just started happening. Yeah, no, not yet.
It will happen. Yeah, I watch horror fans walk up and go, well, why'd you turn left instead of right? And then start reciting the script back for a movie that the actor was drunk and didn't even remember doing. Now we're going to talk about tobacco farms. Okay, that part of the country, I'm assuming you did flu cured.
We say that again.
Flu cured.
No. Well, yes or no. We did barn cured.
Well,
in North Carolina. But yeah, I mean, I never really actually cured the tobacco. That was Uncle Ralph. But we had tobacco curing barns.
Okay, but yeah, and they had like heat in them and stuff. My understanding on flu cure, they use they force cure it. Burley tobacco.
I know exactly what you mean.
Burley tobacco is what I grew up with, and we just hang it up, forget about it till it's dry enough to get off the stall.
That's what we did.
Okay, well then
That's what we did in North Carolina.
Okay, then it was part of
in the barn and dried out. Yeah.
How much did y'all raise?
Oh golly, she had 40
acres.
Oh
God.
Yeah, but not all that was field. We had 40 acres, and there were maybe 4 fields, and each field would be like 3 or 4 acres, and the rest was uncharted wood.
Yeah, now that's what I grew up with. We had a Burley tobacco farm, and we had an acre in this field, an acre in that field. Finally, my dad traded up, and he got him a farm where he put it all in one big field. And
oh wow!
But I'm gonna tell you now, we were a small farm operation. We stopped. I think we got up to like maybe 15 acres tops, and that was right at the end of the when they had the tobacco program. And when they were talking about, doing away with that, people were talking about, well, you'll have to grow 50, 100 acres. I said, ain't no goddamn way I'm growing 50 acres of this stuff. That up.
Yeah, they eventually, no, I get, we had corn and field peas, like she canned all her own vegetables. So a lot of the land was actually used for sustenance. And eventually, when I was older and right before she died, and after Ralph died, Uncle Ralph, she was leasing out the land, the tobacco fields at that point. She wasn't doing the farming anymore after Ralph died. So she leased it out, but still grew her vegetables and canned her field peas. And I tell you what, I can't find any field peas like Aunt Edith's. I cannot find them. You can't get them in a can. You can't get them frozen. You can't get them anywhere. And I probably never will have them again. Till I see her in heaven. We'll have them with Jesus, Aunt Edith.
My mom is 89. And she still has her garden. Now, of course, we gave up tobacco years ago, but she still has a garden. But here's a little trivia for you, everybody. The one food that I almost completely will not eat is green beans, because every meal that I remember growing up had my mom. She would put out like an acre of green beans for me, her, and my dad. And so every meal had green beans, and I got so fucking sick of green beans.
Do you have Publix in Kentucky, Wes? Do you guys have Publix?
Not in this part. I don't know if we do down anywhere else.
I don't know if you do in Kentucky.
It's coming soon.
Oh, really? Okay, because
They just announced one.
Green beans. They have the best Italian cut green beans.
Yeah.
And I have nothing but Publix Italian cut green beans in my pan. I don't farm anymore. Can you tell?
Well,
no,
yeah.
I don't farm. No canning going on in Midtown Atlanta.
I'm a corn and taters guy. Yeah. Well, man, my wife puts up. We talk about that. Anyway,
we're gonna have lots of drinks in Kentucky, man. We're gonna talk farm life. I miss it. I really do.
I do think growing
life.
up with it puts a work ethic in a human being that is unequal.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. We were up at 4 a.m. every morning. You know, cleaning the kitchen, getting ready.
This guy actually has a better work ethic than I do. You know
that. Oh, I don't do that anymore.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's how you're trained. But I'm just saying when I
and then you're in bed at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. You know? Okay, that part I get. I really do.
Yeah. I'm still in bed at 8 o'clock, man. This is way past my bedtime.
Dad, I'm gonna toss it over to you just because I bullshit my time away.
Totally. I enjoyed that, Wes. I enjoy the.
I'm gonna change path here a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk about a project you did that I'm curious about called Paranormal Estate.
Oh, wow, man. Okay. I had a sketch comedy theater here in Atlanta for about 15 years, Sketchworks. It's still around, sold it. And we were the first original sketch comedy theater in Atlanta because there's a lot of improv. And I got a lot of friends at Dad's Garage and Whole World Theater and all the great improv theater. There's a great theater scene in Atlanta, as you guys probably know. But Sketchworks was the first original sketch. And sketch is hard, especially to produce in a nonprofit theater because you've got to write it. And you've got to write the shows, rehearse the shows, put them on their feet. So we only did like about 4 or 5 shows a year. And Paranormal Estate, I can't remember. Oh God, I hope they're not watching. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was Missy Holcomb, who plays Paula Dean in the sketch. Wanted to do this takeoff on Paranormal Estate and wanted me to play Chip Coffey, and we shot it at our talent agency, the talent agency that represents us. They let us have it late at night, and we shot it all night long. So, yes, what's your question about it? It's very funny.
Oh, I just wanted to learn more about it. I know Chip's local to Atlanta, so right, I wondered if that inspired him.
I will tell you, here's the quick story about that. You're asking great questions, man. I love these questions. Chip, we did a benefit. A good friend of ours had had an illness, and we did a benefit show to raise money for her. At Sketchworks, and one of the big highlights of that show was Paranormal Estate. So we would have sketches on stage, and then we had a lot of film pieces that we do. And I'm playing Chip Coffey basically, and because it's a takeoff on Paranormal Estate. And we invited Chip to come to the show as part of the fundraiser, and we told him we were doing a parody and that I was playing him. He didn't know me at the time, and we were told by his publicist there are a few things you cannot do. Okay, he's not watching. You cannot infer any kind of like relationship between him and Ryan. You cannot all these things we can't do. And I'm like, oh shit, that's exactly what we did. But okay, anyway. So he comes to the show, we're doing the show. He's out in the audience. It's a full house because everybody loved Jessica. So it was packed out. We raised $10,000 that night for her medical.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a great night. Did silent auction, all that stuff. And Paranormal Estate plays, and I know he's out there watching it and everything. And after the show, he came up to me and he loved it. He wears the trademark scarves. He gave me the scarf that he was wearing. I still have it. And now we're actually really, really, really good friends.
Well, he's at Scarefest a lot of years. I don't know if he's coming this year or not, but
is he coming this year? Oh my God.
He's not, but it's mostly because he's got people around him that he has to protect from COVID, and until it dies down, he's really not doing much public.
That's a thing. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Well, that's too
bad. He's certainly part of the Scarefest family. So
I'm
anything
so glad. I have to let him know I'm doing it. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think we're up on our next break, so we're going to toss it over, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Horror, movie, fans, for life. on Facebook. Find us. 4 watch parties. 4 news. 4 memes. 4 friends. 4 life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis at Bonehead Weekly. Finally, took forever, but COVID has let me watch 2 movies. Yes, I'm fine. Don't worry. Thank you for asking. It has allowed me to get to review 2 films, and I'm only going to do one, and the other one will be next week. Finally, I've got to watch 2021's Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Now, Edgar Wright is the director of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End. Huge fan of him. I've loved his work ever since Space from the original BBC series. If you don't know what it is, it's about a young lady who goes to London to be an aspiring fashion designer. She goes to fashion school and she's obsessed with the 60s. Her mom we don't know the full story, but she's gone. She's raised by her grandmother, and something happened to her mom when she was young as well. So that's the story. It's a beautifully made movie. It's wonderfully shot, and I was so excited to finally get to see it. It's got Anna Taylor-Joy in it, who I just think is an amazing actress, and Matt Smith for you Doctor Who fans. And I love the 60s. I love London in the 60s. I love the idea of it. I don't know why it didn't work for me, but the movie just doesn't work for me. Maybe I'm not the target audience. There's scenes in it that work for me, and I love the transitions as she starts to experience these out of body experiences through another person, and we start to realize, is it ghosts? Is she going crazy? And once again, I don't like giving away spoilers, so I'm not going to talk about what the actual end is, but about an hour into it, I was like, speed this up a little bit. It's not necessarily it's slow. I just kind of see where it's going. And unfortunately, I was right in where I saw where it was going. But it's beautifully made. The acting's fantastic. I can recommend it, but it's one of those Edgar Wright movies that doesn't work for me. I loved Baby Driver before this. Baby Driver works for me perfectly. But unfortunately, Last Night in Soho doesn't. Thomasin McKenzie is the actress, and she's fantastic. And like I said, there's not a bad performance in the movie. I love the work. I love how they bring the 60s London to life and how we experience it through her eyes, but it just doesn't quite work for me. So it's on HBO Max right now. So check out Last Night in Soho. I hope it works for some. If some of you have seen it and you like it, just message me on Facebook or Twitter, Evil Joe on Twitter, Joe Lewis on Facebook, and let me know. I'm curious to talk to somebody about it who's seen it, because it just didn't quite work for me, but it's a really well-made movie. This has been Joe Lewis at Bonehead Weekly.
Oh, wow.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. We got a couple of minutes now just to wrap it all up. Yeah. So actually, I think we'll just continue what we were talking about. What does Brian watch in his downtime? What do you watch on your TV?
Oh, well, right now I'm rewatching Midnight Mass. We talked about that because I just can't wrap my head around how they came up with that story. I mean, it's great, number one, but I was actually thinking that last night, you guys, when I was watching it. You know, here you have this little town or this little island that's dying. The priest of this town, who is dying, right? Like there's that connection, goes to the Middle East, and this angel vampire, like gives him and he comes back and resurrects the island. I mean, it's so complex on so many levels. This is on second watching as I'm watching it. But I love true crime. That's my thing. So I watch the serial killer stuff on Netflix like you do, Wes, and yeah, all the true crime stuff. Oh, I love the staircase murder thing. The staircase.
Yes, that was that was a very interesting one.
That the owl did it. It was the owl. It was the owl. I believe it was the owl.
Did you watch I think it's called The Innocent Man? No, Making a Killer. Making a Killer. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that, but I haven't watched it.
Making a Killer. I watch it, the ones like that, just because I don't know if this guy did it or not, but there were so many glaring. errors in his trial and this stupid ass stuff on the prosecution side and the defense side that you're just like, how does anybody, this get a fair shake? But
that's a good point. I actually was asked to sit on a murder trial a couple of years ago. I got jury selection, and this is where my acting skills came into real effective play, you guys. I'm not even kidding. No, I've got jury selection, and I'm sitting there, and it's a murder trial, and I don't want to be there at all, right? So, sorry, I got to back up. So the first trial I got selected for 2 trials in like a 2-year period. The first was like a guy backed out into a street and he shouldn't have, and somebody hit him, and it was a really simple trial. Sitting on that jury, quite honestly, you guys, with the 12 people trying to make this decision, I was like, holy fuck, pardon me. I hope I never end up in a situation where 12 human beings have to decide my fate, because all of us were idiots. All of us, nobody could agree on anything. So the second time I got selected about a year and a half later was for a murder trial. I'm like, there is no way I am not going to sit on this jury. So the guy had a teardrop tattoo, and so when the lawyers are questioning me and they're saying like, do you have any prejudice against this defendant? I said, well, Your Honor, that's a teardrop tattoo. I think that means he killed someone in prison. And then I started crying. I actually started crying. And so the lawyer goes, you're released. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was totally tangential. But I didn't have to serve. But what you said about how anyone gets a fair trial, I know it's true. The same thing in the staircase murder. It's like that trial was so messed up. And yet you watch it, and his first wife also fell down the stairs. I mean, what? Anyway.
Stairs are slippery.
Ivana Trump fell down the stairs. Sorry. It's too soon.
I know what I'm going to ask you. Since you said you're a big friend.
She did, though.
You're a big fan of the chip coffee. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you.
We need to do this more. This is just going completely off the rails now.
Okay.
And I like that.
Brad,
yes, a big
this is the same question I asked Chip Coffee.
Okay.
If you could be any tree that you wanted to be, why would you want to be a tree?
Oh my God, man. First of all, if I were a tree, I would be a mighty oak. And I would want to be a mighty oak because my acorns would be enormous.
That's a much better answer than he did.
What did he say?
Did he even answer it? I think he just gave me one of those snarky Chip Coffee looks and went on.
That's a quick. Yeah. I will. Let me say one thing. I do want to say this about on-camera stuff, because a lot of people have asked me like to if I'm going to do any more movies and things like that. I really never had the desire to. I'm good at it. I'm a good actor, and I can say that without being without hubris. I'm a good actor because I work at it. I work hard at it. I work very hard to be a good actor. It's a craft. It's a skill you have to train. I know what I'm doing. I never had the desire to do it again until I started meeting the fans. I'm not even kidding. And it was just in this, because I did a really small show in Tampa, which was great. Tampa Bay Screams. It was lovely. It was my very first show. Then I did FrankenCon, which was like kind of blew my mind. And Scarefest, I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. But to work with some of the filmmakers I'm meeting, like to be able to assemble a group of people, because I really think that's how you have success in anything that you do. You work with people that you respect, that you trust, and you feel safe with. And that was always really important to me. I think that's why, as a young actor, I was scared. Now it'd be different because I'm old, and everybody I work with is younger than me, no matter what. Like every creative director, they're like 22 years old. I'm like, okay. But these people working together with these fans, I would do that in a heartbeat. And I'm actually talking to a young director that I met at FrankenCon, and I'm really excited about his project. So I think I will probably get back into on camera, because the love that comes from this is like, that feeds the craft, and you want to do it because you want to do stuff that's fun and work with people that are fun. So This will be fun.
Just don't pull a Felissa Rose on me. She
no.
She gets all these parts offered to her when she does all of her conventions, and so she'll come on the show, and I'm trying to do research, and so I'm paying $5 to rent these movies that she's in like 10 seconds.
Oh, be careful. That'll probably be me. I'm gonna be the next Felissa Rose. I love Felissa. I've only met her once. I met her at Tampa Bay Screams, and I was so nervous about that convention. And I sat right next to her. So of course they open the doors at Tampa Bay Screams, and like everybody goes to her table. And there's a huge line out the door. It's like 17,000 miles long, and I'm sitting there like, But anyway, but then when they got through with her, they came to see me, and it was lovely. And actually, a fan there gave me this. A friend, not a fan, a friend. But before the convention, I was so nervous, and I said to Felissa, "Hey, it's really great to meet you. We have a lot of friends in common. I'm as nervous as I can be." And she said, "We have one job: to make people happy, and that's it." She said, "That's why we're here. That's why you're here. And if you do that, you will get the love back in return." Absolutely. And I'm like, okay. She's lovely. Yeah, she is lovely.
Not to gush over her, but what I love about her is she makes me feel like I'm her best friend. And I know she does that with everybody, but that's my thing.
But she means it, Wes. I mean, I get it. Like, she means it. Like, you've got a connection with her because of her work that, like, that's really amazing for an actor to have done something that's out there that people love and people want to talk to you about, and they love you for the work. You do love them back. I mean, that's real. I get it. I totally get it.
She makes me feel special.
And you'll see that at Scarefest, she will have a line. And she's there a lot of years. She comes back. And the same people will be there again because that's the way she makes them feel. Same thing with Kane Hodder and R.A. Mahalov.
I get it, man. I totally get it.
The same people come back because of how they make them feel when they meet them. So
I get that.
And I mean, it's horror fans. They have such loyalty.
Right. And I get it because I feel the same way. I mean, I really do. I told somebody came to my table at FrankenCon, and I was like, "Thank you so much for being here and coming to see me." And they're like, "Oh, I bet you say that to everybody." I'm like, no. I really mean it. Like, it means a lot to me that you like the work and you know the work. And they're asking me about scenes about the work, you know. And then they're just really cool people and easy to be around. So you can just be yourself too. And as actors, we don't always really get to be ourselves. You know, we're always in that situation where we're having to prove ourselves. And this is a situation where we don't have to prove ourselves. We can just commune with people who love what we've done, and we can share stories and share experiences and learn about them too. I mean, I will tell you, I made some good friends at FrankenCon, and we still keep in touch. And they text me, and I text them back, and you know, that's really special. Don't make me cry in the last 5 minutes.
That's actually a really good note to end the show on. I love ending a show on a high note, and I love having a show where I don't have to do all the work and the guest does it for me. And,
oh shit, man! You mean Motormouth Brian?
Actually, it's not that. I did an interview last night with somebody. When I can tell the guest has fun, it's been a good show.
I have had a blast, and I will do this anytime. I can't wait to meet you guys and meet Anita and meet all you guys in person. I really can't wait.
Well, we will show you the nightlight of Lex Live, because that's one thing where me and Chad work so hard that we can't actually take you out any place. You know, like there's a bar, it's good. You know?
We'll have a couple of drinks and crash.
Do you bowl?
That's what I do.
Do you bowl?
Yeah. Yes, I bowl. I haven't bowled in a long time, but I'm actually pretty good.
We might have to just get a little bowling game together on this weekend.
I'm up.
The Lex Light, it's a big entertainment complex. I don't do arcades anymore, so I'm thinking, what can I do?
I don't either.
So, anyway.
I do bowl. I would love that, guys. I would love that.
I just miss the days when you could still smoke and bowl. That's why I loved about bowling. Any sport that you have an ashtray built in the chair.
No comment.
Okay, everybody. This has been Scarefest Television. We should be back next week. Now, we won't be back the last weekend of the month. I'll be on the road. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Gatlinburg. I got to go to Gatlinburg.
Ask Anita.
So, I don't keep up with none of this shit. Everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you had a good time. We sure did.